All right, so you learned how to position elements in the screen and some other basics as well. Now we're going to start building a real project from scratch. A real project will contain a lot of things like authentication. So we're going to have the complete login and registration systems, the back end, front end, including the forgot password, sending emails, all that stuff. And we will allow the users to create posts later once they log in. And we have to protect certain screens that will be only for the logged in users, right? So all that standard stuff that you see in either web app or mobile app. And then we will be showing the list of posts in the home screen, and there are so many other things. We will implement all those exciting features into this real world application step by step. And when we're doing that, you will learn almost all the fundamentals you will need to learn to start your next big project with React Native. All right, so by the end, you should feel pretty comfortable writing any React apps. So without further ado, let's dive into building a real project. So the first thing I can think of when we think about building any project is having a login and registration system, right? So we will start with creating a sign-in and sign-up screen. So we will create those screens. And while we're doing that, we learn a lot of things. For example, how do you create the input fields for user to enter the email and password, because unlike in the web, you can just use input field and it's nice and easy to get the user input. However, with React Native, it's not that straightforward. So we have to import the text input component from React Native, and we have to do some styling, otherwise it won't be visible on the screen. So all that stuff we have to go slow, but the core concept is same. We still have to have the page up and running. We need to have the input fields for username, email, password. It's the same thing, but you do it a little differently. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start building this application. So our first task will be to create a sign up screen. Now, before we start creating screen, let me just comment out the web view and let me bring it back the way it was. All right, so that's right. Let's leave it like this for the moment, and let's focus on creating another screen called sign up. All right, so let's go ahead and create a sign up screen. So here in the root directory, let's create a folder. Let's call it screens. Inside screens, let's create one file. Let's call it signup.js. And we can start writing React code. So import React from React. Let's import some components from React Native. So we need text. We can bring in view from React Native. Then we can just write a simple component for the moment. Const signup equals to return. Make sure you have a return keyword if you're using curly brace. And then here, let's use view. Inside view, let's write something within text. Let's say sign up. And then we export sign up. All right, so we have this screen. Now let's import this in app.js so that we can have a look. All right, so import sign up from. So we get inside screens folder and bring the sign up. And let me actually remove all this code. We might use WebView bit later as well, but if not, you already know how to use it, right? So let's remove that. Let's remove this one as well. We don't need that. And here, I think I imported that. Oh yeah, that one is there. So let's remove these two, leave that, and we just render that for the moment. very soon we're going to implement the navigation system so that we can show different screens, but at the moment let's start with just this one. Let's create these screens and then we're going to learn how to implement navigation. Okay, so we don't need this style as well. Let's get rid of that. We don't need this one as well. Everything that we don't use, let's remove and let's keep it simple. So basically all we are doing is returning this component in app.js, which is the entry point of our application. And you can see here, it's very hard to see, it's right on top, sign up text we have. Perfect, so we got that component here. Now we can continue working on this one. So the first thing we want to do is write some CSS here. So we can style this wrapper div. We can make it flex 1, and then justify content center so that we can center this item here. You can see it's centered here. Next, we want to style the text, right? And we will show the font right in the middle of the page. That's what we're trying to do. So the text, again, we can write inline styling, or you could write, you could bring in the style sheet from the React Native like we had earlier in the app.js, but I prefer writing the inline CSS. You know, it's the same thing, but when it is here, at least you can see what's happening instead of scrolling all the way down and looking at your CSS. You know, it's nice and easy. The only disadvantage is your file can get quite big very quick, but in that case obviously you can refactor your code, you know, maybe put it in a separate components folder and organize your code. But writing inline CSS is my preferred way. So let's continue with this one. For styling the text, there's a nice little npm package that I have created which we're going to try, but let me show you first. For example, let's say we want to make it a title, right? So this will be kind of a heading. So obviously we don't have h1 h2 like we have in regular HTML, so we have to again style by writing CSS. So as you can see, mobile development, it gets a bit slow and you have to take it slowly because, like I said, there is no h1 h2 a paragraph, anything. You just have to do it this way. All right, so to make it a title, let's say we want font size maybe 24, and I think that's pretty much it. Let's give it a try. So you can see this way we can obviously style, we can give it a color, let's say, let's give this value. So you can see this way we can obviously go ahead and continue with the styling, but this text element, this is similar to how we use paragraph in regular HTML. So you use it all the time. So almost every time you have to use text whenever you want to show something on the screen. So it's better if we could easily style the text component, right? So for that, there is a package which I have published to npm. So npm Colorado React Native. If you Google it, you might find it. Probably not, it is very new. In that case, we can just go to npmjs.com. You can search for npm packages here. Let me search Colorado, and you will find this one here. Add Colorado React Native text. So this is the library we can use. This npm package we can use, and with this package, this is how you can style your text. It's nice and easy. So if you want to make it bold, you pass the bold. You can see you can pass these props. You can pass these props to make it like a title, or large, medium, small, tiny. For the font weight, you can use it bold, heavy, semi, or light, and you can center or right align as well. So you can see this gets a lot easier and quicker. So let's go ahead and give this a try. Okay, Okay, so npm install add colorauth/react native text. Okay, so that's done. Let me start the server and let me hit I to open an iOS simulator. So here now we don't import text from React Native. Instead, we're going to import from that package we just installed. So import text, no curly brace. Okay, so no destructuring like that one. It's just text from at colorauth React Native text. Okay, now we don't have to give the styling, and immediately you might see the difference here. Okay, so it is disconnected. So let me go to device, sec, reload. Alright, so you don't see much difference here, but now you can easily pass these props. For example, if you want to make it like a title, you pass the title. You can see that's nice. Let's also center the text, and it's right there. So you can see it's nice and easy, and there's not much happening here. If you could also create on your own, but it just makes things a bit easier, you know. All right, so we got the heading. Next, we want to create the input field so that the user can start entering the email and passwords, because that's what we need when we want to sign up the user, right? So let's go ahead and import text input component from React Native, which will work as the input field, which you might be familiar with if you have worked with HTML. All right, so we got the text here. Underneath the title, let's create a view. Think of view as div in web development, so you will use it all the time. You can use inside the view, it's no problem. Okay, so inside here, first I'm going to write give it a label. All right, so let me call it name, and then let's make it semi. Okay, so slightly not bold, not regular, but somewhere in the middle, semi. And view also, let's make it style flex 1 and margin horizontal. Let's give it the value of 24. Okay, since we already have the wrapper view with the flex 1, I think we don't need that here, so let's get rid of that. Okay, so that looks nice, you can see. And since we applied margin horizontal, there is a margin here, 24 pixel here and at the end. Okay, so margin horizontal means it will apply here and here. And there's another option also that is called margin vertical, that will put margin on the top and bottom, but this one is horizontal, so right and left. So this will make it easier. Otherwise you had to write margin left 24, margin right 24, but with margin horizontal it's nice and easy. Okay, now let's use that text input we import from React Native, and you can see it's not visible here, but it is actually there. So it's really hard. You can see if you try clicking a couple of times, you might see this blinker if you click on the right place. Okay, but it's really hard to see because it also requires the styling. By default there is no styling. Okay, so let's apply some styling here. Style. Let's give it a border bottom width. Let's give the value of 0.5. Now you can see we got the border bottom. So in this case we're not going to have border all around, we just want to have a border to the bottom. Okay, so that for that you use this property. Height, let's give it a bit of a height, let's say 48. Okay, so there's a bit of a height. Border bottom color, I have some hex value, so let me use that. So 8E93A1. But obviously you can obviously use the color of your choice. Something easy to use. You can see this is also there. Maybe 666 also looks nice, but I'm going to just use this one. By the way, if you want to get a bit deeper into the color selection, you can go to my favorite one is I just Google HTML color and then go to W3 Schools. This is nice and easy site where you can play around with the color. So for example, if you want white, you have all these options here, and then you can go a bit darker and darker, pick one of these class names and easily apply. Okay, so this is where you can get more creative with your color choice. Okay, so that's border bottom color. Next one, margin bottom. Let's give the value of 30. Okay, so let's leave it for now, but later we might have to come back and change. All right, so when we have other things down here, maybe when we create another text input here, maybe the submit button, that time we might have to come back and make some adjustments. All right, so that's not a problem, but at the moment it looks good, so let's leave it like this. By the way, you can give this a color as well to this text. You can pass the color as well. Color, let's say FF2222. You can see you can pass the color, and you can do the same for the title. You can see it works like that, but let's wait for that. Let's just get the basic screen here for sign up, and then later we might get a bit more creative, but for the moment let's just continue like this. Alright, so you can see this text input, this component, we can reuse it many times. Now we're using it for name, later we can use it for email and then password, and also we can use it on a different screen, sign-in screen, right? So let me just put it separate, sign up. Alright, so what we can do is we can obviously put it in a separate component. So let's create, actually we already have the components folder. So inside, let's create another folder called auth. So here we can put authentication related components, for example, the input, right? So let's call it user input.js. And basically we can actually copy this code. Copy this code, put here, and then we're going to delete this one and just import that one and use here. Okay, so go to user input, paste that code here, and first let's change the name to user input user input. Next, we don't need this heading, so let's remove that. Then we also don't need this wrapper view because we're going to import this one and use here. So let's remove that as well. Perfect. Now we also need to make sure that we pass these props. Okay, so this has to be dynamic. It can be used for name, email, password, all that. So we make it dynamic later, but at the moment it looks good. This component is here. Now let's go to sign up. Now we don't need this. It has been moved, so let's remove that and instead import that. So import user input from. So we go one step up, go to components, auth, user input, and then we put that here, user input. Perfect, we got that name. Now we want to use this for email and password as well. All right, so we got that. So what we want to do is we want to pass the props dynamically, right? So let's pass name and we give the different value. Okay, so for the first one, name, and next one, email, and then next one, password. Okay, so now you can see here we're using the same component, but we're just passing the different props by the name, right? So we can access these props here. So we get props, and then instead of hard coding name, we can use props.name. Now you can see name, email, and password. Beautiful. Now you can instead of accessing the properties like that, you can directly destructure name. So you can directly do that, so it's nice and easy. You don't have to keep doing props dots. All right, so that's perfect. So that's looking good, but they don't do anything at the moment. You can really type here because we haven't used the on chains. Like if you're familiar with React for the web development, we use on chains, right? So on chains, we grab that value, put in the state, and set that value back to this component so that we get the user input and we bind the value with the state. All right, now with React Native it's quite similar but not exactly on chains. Instead what we have here is on text chains. All right, so in React for the web you would use on chains, but here on React Native on text chains. So on text chains you get the value and you can console log just to give it a just to understand what's going on, right? Now in the web you would get the event, so you would access the value by event.target.value. That's how you would get that. However, with React Native it's a little bit different. You get the text itself, whatever has been typed, and you have access to that. So let's give it a try. So we got the console here. So if you try something, let's try Ryan. Actually that's nothing's happening here. Okay, so I can't type for some reason. So if you have the same issue, you can go to device input, the keyboard, connect hardware keyboard. Okay, so you can do that, and that way you will be able to type. Now let me try again. It works a little differently. You can see previously we didn't get that, now we get, and we can just try like that as well. So this is helpful. Sometimes you can see here. Now if we have a submit button, that will be hidden behind the keyboard, and that's a problem as well. So we have to make this scrollable view so user can scroll and hit the button, but we'll come back to that later. At the moment, so far so good, we have that one. Now instead of this inbuilt keyboard, which is very hard to type here, I'm just going back to the previous one, connect hardware keyboard. Okay, so we got that, and we may have, actually we don't see that in the console, but that's all right. We'll take that later, but for the moment it's all looking good. So what you want to do here is on text chains, you want to set the state. So grab that value and put in the state, right? Actually I want to show you how this works. Why it's not working? Okay, my bad. It's not working because it should be on chains text, not text chains. So on chains, actually it's so far it's same as web, but then you add text, on chains text. Okay, so let's try. Right, now you can see we get that value. Perfect. Now what we want to do is we want to send this value to the parent component right? This one is used in the sign up. So here, so we should have a state. We should create a React state here, and then whenever user types something in, we want to grab that value and put in the state. That way, later when user hit the button, we can send that information, grab from the state and send it back to our server so that we can create a user and save in the database, right? So that means let's go ahead and import use state hook so that we can use state. All right, so we add a state here. State variables, let's start with name, and to update this name we're going to use the function called set name equals to use state, and we give the default value of empty string. Again, let's copy this and paste 2 more times, actually 3 more times. One we can use for loading as well. So name, email, set email, and next one password, set password, and then last one we can use for loading, set loading. So we can give this a default value of false, so by default it will be false. Perfect. Now we got the state. All we have to do is pass these values as props. So we can pass 2 props value. For this one we can pass the value name, and to update this value we have the function set name, so we can pass it by the name set value, and the function will be set name. Okay, now we can repeat that here and here. Perfect. Now all we have to do is change the name. So this one will be for email, set email, and next one will be for password. Alright, so you can see user input, we are passing different value and set value functions, right? So value will be different, set value function also will be different. However, since we're using this one component and trying to reuse, we have to use the same name. Even though it is same name, every time it is used for a different, to update the different state. Alright, so let's access value and set value function here. Alongside name, value, set value, and then now we can give the value to the text input value. So whatever user types, we put that in the state. Actually, let's start from here. So when we get the text, we put that in the state. So for example, set value and set value, and we give text. Okay, so whatever we get, whatever user types, whatever text user types, that one we give to this function set value. Now this set value function will set the value in the state, whether it is for name, email, password, whatever that is, it will put in the state. Perfect. Now the value obviously is value, whatever we got, name, email, password, a dynamic value for each component, it's different. Alright, so you can see here we got the value and set value as well, which means we should be able to give it a try and see the user input that is saved in the state. To give that a try, we can just use this one. Everything has to be inside text in React Native, so use this text component, and here we can try JSON stringify, and we can see the value that we have in the state, name, email, password. Now we should put it as an object. All right, and then we can pass some arguments as well, no and for. That will make it look a little bit better. You can see here. Awesome. Now if we didn't have this one, that looks all together, that looks a little bit hard to read, so that's why I give these optional values here. So you can see whenever you type something in, now if you type name, you see this has been sent from here. It has been passed to this function. This function is setting the value in the state. So we got the name, email ryan@gmail.com. you can see here, password, something. Now you must have noticed that there's quite a lot of things we have to do here. For example, it is auto correcting the letter. For first letter it is auto capitalizing, so we should remove that. Password, it shouldn't be visible, so we have to change that as well. All right, so we can go ahead and start with those things. And for some reason I have X character here by mistake, so let me just change that so it's back to the center of the screen. All right, so we got this sign up page. We have these fields, name, email, and password. So password should not be visible, so we have to do something with that. And we don't want the email to get prefixed, the auto capitalize the first character. So let's see how we can control that. Let's start from the name. So we got the name, value, auto capitalize. So probably on the name you want to auto capitalize each word. For example, when I type Ryan Dwingle, it would be nice if you can capitalize this one as well. Right, if you could capitalize D as well, something like that. All right, so that one you can pass the prop called auto capitalize, auto capitalize true. Make sure to use the curly brace, not the string. All right, so once you have that, let's give it a try. Ryan Dwingle. Actually it's not happening. Okay, it is auto correcting as well. That is also something we have to disable. We don't want to auto correct the name, so that would be auto correct. We make it false. Okay, now let me also give it a try by reloading. So let me go to device, stake, reload. Let me try Ryan Dwingle. Okay, it's not actually working. All right, so I actually had to restart the device. So I had to restart for that to work. So if you still see autocorrect, make sure to restart. And this one, auto capitalize, actually it's not true. It should be words, string words. All right, so each words we want to auto capitalize. For things like that, you can always check the documentation as well. So if you search for React Native, let's search for text input. You come down here, you can see the props auto capitalize. So you can pass these properties, these values of characters. It will auto capitalize all characters or the words, first letter of each word. Sentences, that's the default one, and none. All right, so we tried words. Okay, so that's that. So for name, value, set value, auto capitalize and auto correct, I think that's all we need. So let's go on to email. So for the email, we want the autocomplete type. Let's put that after this one. So autocomplete type, we use email. Autocomplete type email. Autocorrect we don't need for this one. Keyboard type, we can give the value of email address. And for the last one, for the password, we can use secure text entry so that it is not visible. We give the value of true. And we also want to make it autocomplete type password. That way it will not autocomplete. Alright, so autocomplete type, we give password. Alright, so with that, let's give it a try. So we got the name, we got email, ryan@gmail.com, and password. Okay, so it's probably I have to reload. Okay, let's try. Ryan, bingo, Ryan. Okay, so it should be lowercase. Email should be. Actually, I'm sorry, it's my bad. We have been passing these props, but since we're reusing this user input component, we're not using any of those values, right? So we're using only value and unchanged text. So anything we pass as value, it's not actually working because we haven't take those props in this user component. Okay, so we did our part here. It should be good here. So we have all these properties used. Now let's go to user input and let's access these ones. And based on the props that we have passed, we're going to decide whether this is for password. Secure entry should be true, so it will not be visible. Autocomplete should be type of email. So all that will work once we access these props, right? These props in user input. So let's go. So first we need to make sure to destructure the value. So we are getting auto capitalize. We're getting the props of keyboard type, and we're also getting secure text entry. All right, and we can also give the default value as well to these ones. So if you don't pass any of these props, so each time you use this user input here, now you're using the sign up, later maybe you will use it in another screen, maybe sign in, right? So you may not pass all the fields all the time. For example, secure text entry is passed on the password field, but not when using this component for the email or for the name. So these props will be different based on whatever we're using, right? So you can always give the default value here. So auto capitalize, by default you can say none. So by default you will not try to auto capitalize unless it has been passed as props. All right, so keyboard type, you can give the default value of default. And secure text entry, by default it will be false. It will be true only when it is used for the password. All right, so we got these default values as well for each of these props. Now we can start using them here. So text input, autocorrect, we give it false. We didn't pass any autocorrect from there, because in all those the fields, the sign up and sign in, obviously we don't want to autocorrect because it's not, it's not writing writing a blog post or anything. So autocorrect always false. Auto capitalize, so whatever value we get, that we will use. Keyboard type also, whatever we get, that we'll use. If we don't get anything, it will be default by default. And secure text entry, if it has been passed as true, that will be used here. Awesome. Alright, so with that, I think we're good to give it a try. So let's give it a try. Let me shake the device and let's try. Okay, now this is working. Each word's capitalized, so that's nice. Right, at gmail.com, and password, now you can see it is secure text entry. So that's great. We have customized the text input for the name, email, and password. So the next thing we want to do is create a submit button, right? So we can also make that usable, and that button can be used in the sign up and sign in page, and maybe in some other pages as well in future. Alright, so the next thing we want to do here is have a button. We can create a submit button, right? So let's go to sign up, and in React Native we actually have a button component as well. However, this will be very plain, so you don't get the button that you would expect, especially when you use button in websites, web development. You get this nice button with some background color, easily customizable. However, with React Native it's a little bit different, so let's have a look at it. So this is how you use React Native button component. You give title and you give the title, so that's how it looks. Alright, so you still get this the effect. When you press, you get this slightly faded effect, so that's pretty nice. But there is another component that is used quite often in React Native, and that is quite flexible as well. So instead of just a button, there is another component called touchable opacity. Okay, so using that component you can make anything like a button, or at least when user clicks, for example, maybe on the image or maybe some block of text, anything, when they click, especially in mobile apps, mobile device, you want to give this kind of effect so that the user knows that it has been clicked. You see this kind of the opacity, it changes when you press. So that kind of effect you get with that component. So instead of button, we can use that touchable opacity. And the good thing about this component is you can use this to wrap any other component, like image, anything basically. So let me show you how you can use that. So touchable opacity. So this way you can create your own custom buttons, or you can just make anything clickable. Let's start with the text. Okay, so we're using this package text from this package called React Native Text. So we just pass some values here, some props, and we give this title submit, and here we can make it bold, medium, and we are center it. Alright, so you can see that's how it looks. When you click, when you press, when user press, they get this nice faded effect. So that's touchable opacity. Now obviously we have to write a whole lot of custom CSS as well here. That's how it works. So let's do some styling, and we're going to move it to another component so that we can reuse this button. So let's give this a background color of this value. Alright, so this kind of orange color, and give this height of 50, and from the bottom I want to have a bit of a gap, so okay, so that is actually not working at the moment. What we're going to do is we're going to make it scrollable as well, because on the actual device, when they start typing here, the keyboard will appear here and that will hide the button. So that's why we need this to go up, but at the moment it's not working, so let's remove that. We'll come back to this one later. Justify content center, and actually the previous one I was trying margin bottom. Let's give this a value of 20. Okay. Alright, so we got the height, margin bottom, bit of a margin, justify content center, margin horizontal, because you can see it is touching the edges, so let's give margin horizontal 10. Okay, so that's nice. And border radius so we want to make this look like a button, so a bit of a rounded edge, right? So border radius, let's try 24. Okay, that looks nice. Margin horizontal, I think we can go a bit higher, maybe 20, maybe 15. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so we got this button. Now let's move this to a separate component before we do anything. Let me just copy. Actually, you can cut. So cut this one. Go to components. Button. We can put inside auth. Submit button. Let's call it. All right. So import React from React. Const submit button, return. Actually it's just going to be one element, so you can even use parentheses, so you don't have to write return keyword, and just paste that here. Now export default submit button. All right, so let's make sure we import the text component as well. So import text from Colorado React Native text, and now here let's import that. Let's remove something happened there. Auto import. So import submit button from components auth submit button, and then let me just put that here. Okay, so touchable opacity also we need to import into this component, so we can do that from React Native. Alright, now we have the button. Awesome. Now we need to pass a function which will execute when user presses on this button. Okay, so we need to pass a function when the button is clicked. We want to execute that function that will send requests to our backend with the name, email, and password, so that we can save in the database. Right now, before we do that, let me do one more thing here. To this button, you can pass a prop called title. That way you can, when you reuse this button, you can give different title based on where you are using. Right, so when you're using on the sign up, maybe you want to show sign up button. The name for the button will be sign up, and when you use it on the sign in screen, then you can show sign in. You can customize it easily. So title, let's give a different title. Let's give sign up. Now we can access this title prop in this button. We can destructure that title, and instead of submit we can display title. Okay, now you can see we get that props sign up. Okay, now next thing, we have to use Axios, because eventually we're going to send this information to our backend. Even though we haven't even started with our backend, that's all right. We can just get everything ready in the front end. Then we will start writing our own backend API. All right. So let's install Axios. Npm install Axios. So just like in the web apps, you can use Axios in React Native, right? Just like in the web to make request to your server. So once that's done, npm start, and we run in the iOS simulator. So press I. Okay. Now let's import Axios. Then let's create a function, and we pass that function as props to submit button. All right. So we can call this function, let's call it handle submit async function. We try any error, we cat console log for now. So try, what you want to do here, actually before we even try, we want to make sure that there is the name, email and password, otherwise there is no point making a request, right? So we can make a small check here. So first we want to change the loading state, set loading to true when the button is pressed. Then we check if there is no name, or no email or no password, because we need all these fields. So if we don't have them, you don't want to send a request, Axios request to backend. There's no point, because we need these values here. So we can show the alert to the user. All fields are required. Okay, so at this point set loading back to false, and then we use the return keyword to end the code execution will end here as soon as there is a return keyword, because if there are no values, all these values, we don't want to make a request, so we want to return immediately without executing any code underneath. Alright, so that's a little check here. So once we have that, we're going to make a request. So if we have name, email and password, we make a request. So we try using Axios, and that will give us the response data. We can destructure directly. So for that, we're going to make a request Axios.post. It will be post request. So at the moment we're going to write the full URL, but later we will customize the Axios. Okay, so that way you don't have to keep writing the full URL, but at the moment it's just continue like this. So http://localhost:8000, this is where our server will be running, /API/ we can call it sign up. All right, so we're going to make a request to that endpoint. And when we make a request, this is a post request, we need to make sure we are sending the data. So we are sending the name, email and password. So name, email, password. Alright, so you must have noticed that when we're sending the name, we don't have to give the value like this, because the name and value, they are same. So in that case, we just do it like this. Okay, so we make a post request with this data, name, email and password. We're sending as a second argument, you can see, to the Axios post function. The first argument is the URL, second argument is the actual data we're posting. Alright, so if it was successful, we can console log. Let's write a bit of a string here. Sign in success. Data, we can console log the data before we do anything else. Obviously, we need to save this in the global context API. We need to save it in the local storage so that our application can access it later, even when the screen is reloaded. We're going to do all that, but for the moment, we just console log. And then we can throw some alert, and we can say sign up successful. And then maybe we can even redirect user to other page. Okay, so let's not do anything at the moment. Let's see how this goes. Obviously, we don't even have this API, so obviously we have a lot to do here, but this is how we're going to make a request. All right, so we have this function. So that function, let me pass that as props to the submit button. On submit, actually let's call it handle submit, and the function is handle submit itself. Okay, so this function will be available into this button now, so we can destruct handle submit, and we can execute that when the text, this one, the touchable opacity, when user press here on this button, we're going to execute this function. So that means we can use on press here, on press handle submit. We're going to execute that function. All right, and then when it has been pressed, we need to show the loading, some kind of a loading indicator, right? So you could show the loading spinner, anything, but we're just going to change the text for the moment. Later I will show you how you can use some animation, loading animation, all that, but for the moment let's just keep it simple. All right, so to access the loading state, we can pass that here, loading as well. Okay, so we're passing the loading, title, and the handle submit. Now we can access that here, loading. All right, now title, we're going to conditionally render. So if it is loading, if loading is true, using ternary, we can say something like please wait. If not, if loading is false, then we show the title. All right, so that looks pretty good. Let's give it a try. And at the moment, obviously we get the error because we don't have that here. We don't have the API, so we should see the error. But we can at least console log and have a look. Console log, sign up request, name, email, password. We can have a look at that. All right, so let's try without anything. We should get the error. Actually it's disconnected, it's showing. So let me come here. All right, so it's running. Let me just reload. Okay, so let's try without any values, and you get this alert. All fields are required, which is from here. Okay, so that's working. Now let's enter the value, Ryan at gmail.com. Now if I hit sign up, please wait, because we have the loading state. And actually, even when we catch the error, we can set the set loading to false. And even when there is success, loading to false. So at the beginning it will be true, but then anything happens, the validation error, success or error, we set it back to false. All right, so let me reload one more time. And by the way, you must have seen, you can see here in the console we have the name, email and password, which we console logged here. That means, sorry, not that one, here. So that means we have access to all that state data we can send to our backend. So let's try again. By the way, if you will be typing a lot of time, so instead of that, if you want to save some time, you can just give the default value here, so that it's easy to give it a try. Okay, so let's try now. Sign up. Okay, so obviously we don't see anything. We get this network error because that API does not exist yet. Okay, so far so good. We have the handle submit, and we pass that as props to the submit button as well. So later when we have the server, we will get the response, and until we receive the response, that 1 second or less, you will show the loading will be true. So you will see the text, please wait, and then once we get the response, we can save that information in the local storage, and then we can redirect the user to login page. Now before we move ahead, I want to do one more thing here in this page, and that is showing a logo or image, something like that. So it's kind of a branding thing. So if you have a brand, then you can show your brand logo, something like that here on the top. Okay, so that way later we can also see that when users start typing, the keyboard will pop up, so it will block the view, and then I will show you how you can make it scrollable as well. All right, so let's see how we can show a nice little image, the rounded image here on the top as a brand logo. All right, so for that we're going to put that in a separate component, and we can import that. So first let's create that component. So I'm going to put that inside auth. So let's create a new file. Let's call it circle logo.js. And here import, we need to use view from React Native. We need to import React as well. All right, and then we also need to import the image component from React Native. Okay, then we create this component const circle logo equals to, so we just use parentheses here, and then we export default circle logo. Now here we're going to have a view. Inside view we're going to show the image, right? So for the moment, just to give it a try, let me just use text. Let's just write something so that we can see that we have the component. Circle logo component. Okay, so let me import this one first just to make sure that we're doing it right. So sign up, let's import. From, so go one step up, get inside components of circle logo, and we put that here. Can't find variable circle logo. Okay, so that's typo there. Okay, so once we have that, we can put that. Let's go to the return, and we want to return that within the view but above this sign up. So let me just put it here. Okay, so at the moment you can see we have the text, which is great. We got the component. Now let's remove that text and instead use image. Alright, so let's use image. Now image requires the source, image source, which we can give. We use require, just like we do in Node.js, and then we have to get inside assets folder. So this is where you will store your images, static images you will put here. And if you were showing the image from the web, then you would use URI and you would give the web URL http://yourwebsite.com or /image, something like that. All right, so we might discover this bit later as well, but for the moment we're loading it from the local directory. So for that we use require. So require, we give the path. So 1 step up, 2 step up, go inside assets, and which image we can show. We can show this one, logo, assets logo.png. Okay, got the image. It's quite big, so we can write some CSS for the image style. Width, let's give 150. Height 60. I think we need to increase these values, maybe 300. I think 300 look nice. Height maybe 200. Okay, and we can use margin vertical. Margin vertical, let's make it 50. Okay, it's a bit of a margin here. Awesome. So now let's make this center. So to center that, we can go to this view component and write some styling. This is the wrapper component. So here, justify content center, align item center. All right, that's good. And I think this margin vertical 50 is a bit too much, maybe 20. Yeah, 20, that looks nice. Okay, so that's looking good. We got the image. Now we can remove this one. We don't need that. Just in string, if I let me just comment that out. So we pretty much have the sign up page. It's looking nice. However, there is an issue which we're going to cover in the next video, and that is, let me bring the keyboard, toggle software keyboard. Okay, so you can see here, when I enter into the input fields, the keyboard pops up, and since this is not scrollable, it just covers the whole thing. So it covers the input field button, so it's not usable. Right, so let's see how we can fix this up. Alright, so we have this issue whenever we user want to type something in, it's blocking the view. So for that, we can make this screen scrollable. As you can see, at the moment it is not scrollable. So to make it scrollable, we have another component from React Native, and that is called scroll view. Instead of just view, that is called scroll view. Right, so let's import that. Let me also remove these ones we don't need here. Scroll view. All right, now we can use this instead of view. So here in our return view, let's replace that with scroll view. Okay, so when you save you get the error and the error says here, scroll view child layout must be applied through the content container style prop. Okay, so that is a requirement. Whenever you use a scroll view, instead of style, you have to use content container style. Just give a different name. Content container style. Okay, so as soon as you do that, it looks good. Now you can see it is scrollable. Okay. Now looks a bit odd. You can see it is going straight up. That one. So we have to add a bit of a margin here. The scroll view. Let's try margin here. I think it doesn't work here. Margin vertical. Margin vertical. Let's give the value of 100. Okay, it's not actually working. So what we need to do here is we can put another view. So we have the scroll view on top. Okay, so everything inside. So let me remove this for now. Everything inside we can put inside view. So let me select from here all the way to here. Cut. Okay, so we have the scroll view inside here. Let's create a view, and then inside there just paste that back. Alright, so we got the view. Now in this view we can write some styling. Margin vertical, so we can put that here. Okay, that's better now. You can see here it's right in the middle, so that's good, but we still have that issue when keyboard comes in. It is scrollable, however it again goes back to where it was, and that is still blocking. So this is not really useful for us. So what we can do is there's another npm library which is nice and easy to use, and that is called a keyboard aware scroll view. So not just scroll view, but that is aware of the keyboard as well. So whenever there's a keyboard, it will automatically push the content to the top of the keyboard. Okay, so that's why they call it keyboard aware scroll view. So let me search that in npm. Keyboard aware scroll view. Okay, so React Native keyboard aware scroll view. So you can see the example here when they're typing. So it pushes the content and you can even scroll. Okay, so let's try this one. Let's copy that. Stop the server. Paste that here, and while that's happening, let's go here and let's import that. Import. Let's have a look at the documentation. Okay, so we have to import like that. I think I have to just copy this one. It's just to avoid any typos. Let's copy all that and paste it. Okay, so import keyboard aware scroll view from React Native keyboard aware scroll view, and we're going to use this one instead of the regular scroll view. Replace that, and all the way down here replace that. Okay, now let's make sure we have the server running. Okay, let me press I to open on iOS. Okay, let me just restart, reload. Alright, now you can see how good is that. Now when you click, immediately it pushes the content to the top of the keyboard, because this is a keyboard aware scroll view, and you can still scroll as well. Alright, so you can see here, you can scroll up and down. Beautiful. Alright, so that's how we are pretty much done with this space, this screen. Now we need another screen for sign in, which will be very similar. The only difference is we don't need the name field. When user want to sign up, we just ask them to enter the email and password. Otherwise, everything else can pretty much stay the same. So why don't we create that screen as well, and then we can focus on other things, maybe navigation. We have a look into the navigation, how to navigate people from one screen to other, and then we will go to create our own backend API as well. Alright, so now we're going to create a sign-in page, which will be quite similar. But before we do that, let me add some links here as well. So we want to show the sign-in option. So we're going to say if already registered, sign in, and then when they click on this one, we will take them to sign-in page. Alright, so for that, it's quite simple. We have the text component, so we can use that here underneath the button. So here, let's say already joined. So we can ask user if it is. Let's use white space here. Already joined, and we can actually put another text inside the text. That way we can style it differently, or we can make it clickable, right? So here I want to show sign in. So you can see here, I don't want the whole thing to be clickable. I want only this to be clickable. So that's why I put it in a separate text, and I'm going to make it clickable, right? So color, let me give the color to this one, red color, and to this one as well, let's make it small and center. All right, we got that. And on press, we can use arrow function here. So on press, we can use navigation.navigate to navigate the user to another screen. But for now, actually, let me just remove this one because I want to show you this navigation object, what it looks like. So you can see here, this is the screen, right? So this screen, if you go to app.js, okay, we don't have the navigation yet. We haven't used that yet. Okay, so that means I think we have to leave it like this for now. We'll come back to that. We're going to use React Native Navigation, which is a very popular library that will help us implement navigation. Just like in web app, we have React Router DOM. For React Native, we have React Native Navigation. So we will use that very soon. But for the moment, just leave it like this. Okay, so that's the text. So we got the sign up page. Let me just copy this whole thing, copy the sign up page, and create another screen called sign in, and let me paste that here, and let's just make some changes. Sign in, okay, so I have made all lowercase that one. I think we should just stick to the same way. Sign in, so let's just keep all lowercase except first one, all lowercase. Let's also change this to sign in. Sorry, rename sign in. Okay, now we don't want the name field from here, so let's remove the name, change the title to sign in, and yeah, let's come to this function handle submit. We'll make request to sign in endpoint later. Here let me just make some change. Sign in. Okay, so that's good. Sign in. Awesome. Let's also remove name from this step, and let's have a look. Let's go to app.js. Let's import that one as well. Sign in from screens. Sign in. Alright, now instead of sign up, let me try sign in. And you can see we have the sign in page as well. Awesome. Now on the sign in, you want to show the sign up option. So if they are new, we can take them to sign up. So go to sign in, come all the way down here. So here we can say not yet registered. If that's the case, if not yet registered, something happened here. Why is there a warning sign here? Oh, sorry, I'm writing outside. No, it's text. That's a bit weird. Not yet registered. And we have the text. We change this to sign up. Why I'm getting these red warnings? Let me reload. Not yet registered, sign up. Not sure why it's happening. It's all working good, but I'm not really sure about this warning sign here. If there's any issue, we will fix later. Alright, so that's looking good. Let me also add one more thing here, because in this application we will have the forgot password feature as well. So if user forgot the password, they will be able to receive an email where we will send them the token. When they enter that token there, they can enter the new password, and that's how they will be able to reset the password if they forgot. Okay, so let's add one other link. Text here, forgot password. JSX expressions must have one parent element. So we have the parent element. This is parent element. Not sure. Maybe I have to restart my code editor. Let me pause the video for now. Okay, so I restarted and it's fine. So this is the first time I had such issues. Anyways, so that's looking good. So forgot password. Let's make this small. Center it. Color, let me give this color orange. On press, we don't have that functionality yet. Style, bit of a margin we need on top. Margin top, let's say 10. Perfect. So we got the forgot password as well. Obviously nothing happens at the moment, but we will just make them clickable so that we can take them to these screens. Alright, so now we're going to work on the navigation. Since we have now more than one screen, we have the sign up screen, sign in screen, we need to have the forgot password screen as well. So we're going to have multiple screens. So to navigate between those screens, we need to implement navigation. And there is a popular package for doing that in React Native. That is React Native Navigation. Alright, so we can visit this site, read the docs. They have really nice and friendly getting started guide as well here. So if you want to get really in-depth understanding, you can give it a try as well, but pretty much everything we'll be doing in this course. So I think this following this course and doing it the practical way will obviously be the best in my opinion. All right, so what do? Getting started. First we have to install, and there are quite a lot of these packages to install. It's not just React Native. Okay, so maybe it's better if you just copy this command and put it here so that we can just install everything at once. So these libraries we will install now. We need these ones as well. So let's copy this command and let me just put that here, and we need one more here. So copy that. Okay, so you can see we need to install all this. So React Navigation Native, we need that, and we need all this. So let me remove this part and go back here. Okay, just have a good look at it. Let me just undo that for now. All right, so this is another one, and this is another one. Oh, actually these are the same, so let's remove that. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3. I think we need some more here. At the moment, okay, so that's all they're showing here. Okay, so let's just install these 3, but if we need more, we'll just come back to copy. Let me just close this. All right, let's install. So while that's happening, let's go to app.js. So that is going to be the entry point of our application here. All right, so we're going to import all the screens here, and then we're going to use the navigator to navigate between different screens. Okay, so that's done. Let me start. Press I, and let me quickly take you to the official documentation. So moving between screens, you can see they have this nice example here. So what they have done here, actually we'll do this a bit later. So on press navigation.navigate, we get this navigation prop. Using navigation.navigate, we can navigate to any screen. So we just need to give the screen name. So this is something we will do here. So when they click on the sign up, we will use this similar code navigation.navigate to sign up screen. Okay, something like that. So that's next. Now first let's just give it a try. First we need to wrap the entire application in a navigation container. So if you have used React Router DOM for the web, it's quite similar. So we have to import, and then we have to create the navigation stack. This is imported here, and then stack. Each stack will give you this navigator option, stack.navigator, and you give this screen name. Okay, so you put stack.screen, give a name, screen name, and the component. Okay, so this is how we're going to use. So let's come here and start writing. So first, let's import React. I'm not sure why it's not asking me to import React. Maybe it is included globally. All right, anyways, let's write import create native stack navigator. What is that? Create native stack navigator from React navigation. Okay, so let's copy that. In fact, let's copy the whole thing. All right, so create native stack navigator from React navigation native stack. So that's one. Next one, we need a container. Okay, so the next one is navigation container from React Navigation Native. So once we have them, we can create a function const create a function root navigation, or we can just call it app. I think let's just call it app. It's nice and easy. So let me just remove that. So we got this function app. By the way, you could write it as an arrow function, const app, or you just leave it like this, up to you. Now we're not going to just return one component. Instead, we're going to use navigation container, which we just imported here. All right, navigation container, and then here we're going to create a stack of navigation using stack. So for that, let me just here, actually it can stay outside of the function. So const stack, let's use the capital S equals to this function that we have. You use that and you execute that. Okay, so that will give us this stack option, and that will give us the navigator. So stack dot navigator. Okay, so we can pass some props here. We'll try that. And then here stack dot screen. So for each screen, this is how you will include here stack dot screen, and you give the name of the screen. So let's start with sign up. We can, unfortunately, I used all lowercase. Okay, that's all right. That should be all right. So name is sign up and component is sign up. All right, so that's a sign up screen. Copy, paste, and this one we use for sign in. Okay, so we got these two screens, sign up and sign in. They're both inside stack navigator. Now what happens is, do we have the app running? Yes. So here, let's reload. We shouldn't see any difference. We may see sign up screen in the beginning. So let me reload. Okay, so unable to resolve module React Navigation native stack. I'm not sure if we installed. Let me check the package.json. React Navigation native stack. Okay, so that wasn't there. All right, so let's install that. npm install add React Navigation native stack. Okay, so we import that and everything should be all right. And here also you can see this stack navigator. We can pass the initial route. So when you have more than one route, sometimes you may want to show a certain route by default when the application loads. So you can give that here, that screen name, you can use that. And there are some other configurations you can use. For example, if you don't want to show the header, you can pass that here. So we'll try them out, but at the moment let's just see how this works. Nothing was returned. Okay, sorry. Now that we have used the curly brace, we have to use return and parenthesis. Okay, good. However, we have a bit of an issue. Previously the background was all white, but now it looks like it's a little bit brown, gray, and we have that image, but we can easily fix that. That's not a problem. So you can see we have the header by default. Since we're using this navigation package, it gives us this header by default. Sign up. But that is something we can change. So let's see how we can do all that in the next video. All right, now let's see how we can do something here. For example, the header. By default, when the application loads, you see the sign up screen loads in the beginning because this is on top. Now if you want to change that, you can do that here. So stack navigator, initial route name, so you can give the route name whichever you want to load by default. And let's try sign in. Now if you do that, let's reload the app. You see we get the sign in screen by default. The initial route is sign in. Now another option, if you don't want to show the header on certain screens, for example on sign up and sign in, it doesn't really look good, so you can hide that. So if you want to do that, you can do screen options, header shown, you give the value of false. Header shown false. Okay, let's reload. Actually, it's still showing header. Sorry, my bad, it's typo here. Options. Okay, now you can see the header is gone. Beautiful. Now the thing is, inside this stack, you can see inside this stack, all the components, all the screens you have, the header will not be visible on all of them. Now sometimes that is not something you want. Maybe you just want to hide from one screen but you want to keep it in the other. So we will explore all those features as we progress through the course. There will be a situation where we want to have a header in one but not in the other, so we will cover all that. But for the moment, this is how we have implemented the navigation, and I always recommend you to check out the documentation as well. It is a very good. A lot of things are covered here. Okay, so you can see the initial route name which we just tried. There are some options. You can even give the different title. This is also something we will cover later in the course. All right, so many things will be covered, but I don't want to just introduce everything about the navigation at this point. All right, so we will discover one by one, but if you're curious, obviously you can check out the documentation for the moment. Otherwise, we'll go through all of them step by step. Okay, so that's looking good. Next, let's see how we can make use of the navigation on these screens. So any screen that is wrapped in this navigation container, they will receive the props called navigation by default. Okay, so let's check that out. So let's go to sign up and let's destructure that props navigation and try console log and see what you get. Console log something happened here. Okay, let's have a look at the navigation object. Let's see what we get. That is in the sign up, right? So that is in the sign up. Sign up, how do we go? Again, we have to change this to sign up. Reload. Okay, so we got the sign up. When you go to the sign up, we get that console log, and you can see here, this is the navigation object. We have access as props on any of these screens that are wrapped inside navigation container. So you can see here, it gives us a lot of these functions. For example, push, you can push to use navigation.push to push the user to a different screens. You can use navigate as well. You can use go back to go to the previous screen. You can use set params as well. Okay, so a lot of these will be trying throughout the course. So let's first use one of the option so that we can navigate the user to different screen when they click here. So let's start from sign up. So let me comment that out. So navigation.navigate, you can see that option here. You can use push as well, or you can use navigate as well. Where is that? It's here. So let me come all the way down on this text already joined. So here I want to use on press arrow function, navigate to sign in screen, right? Sign in screen. So if you click now, you go to the sign in screen. Now let's go to the sign in screen and also do something similar on this text. So let's go to sign in. Again, we can destructure the props, navigation, all the way down. Let's find that text, sign up, on press, navigate to sign up. All right, now we can navigate between screens. So we are on the sign up page. People can go to sign in from here, and when they are in the sign in page, they can go back to sign up. Okay, now I noticed one thing, the button says the same. So let me just change for the sign in. I want to change that button name, change this to sign in. Perfect. Now one last thing, this image, we should have PNG image because it's JPEG and it has this white background which doesn't really match here. So if you have your own PNG image, obviously you can use. If not, I think I should just get another image which is PNG. Alright, so let me quickly go to Pixabay. Let's find another logo. Let's search for logos. Maybe we can use this one, circle. Yeah, it looks nice. Free download. Before I download, let me go here. I want to keep using the name logo. So the one I have, let me change that to logo 1. Okay, and this new one I will save as logo, so we don't have to make any change in our code. So I'm going to save directly to my project assets. Okay, that's right there. Let's call it logo. I guess logo.png. It has been saved as logo.png. Okay, so we have the logo. Awesome. Now it looks like we have to go to circle logo, give a different width, maybe 200. Okay, that's perfect. All right, we have the PNG logo. It looks good. Okay, so sign in, sign up. Beautiful. And by default, we are loading the sign up page. Let's leave it as sign in. So most of the time, users will be landing on the sign in page. So if they are new, they will go to sign up. Otherwise, by default, it will be a sign in page.